Hi, my name is Cheryl Major, and I want to welcome you to Eat Your Blues Away. This is the first in a series of programs that's designed to share with you and to help you understand how much power and control you have over your health, both mental and physical, by choosing good food to eat. I myself cured my own depression, years and years of depression, decades of depression, in fact, I struggled with. I cured that just by changing how I eat. And along the way, I lost 20 pounds without trying to diet. And although I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you that I'll cure you, but I can tell you I cured myself, and I can share with you how I did that. Now, how did I come to talk to you today, to sit here? I am a certified nutrition and wellness consultant. I also have a degree in education from Boston University, so I've been a teacher. And I've also been a residential realtor, full-time residential realtor for 30 years. Now, everything I've done from the past few decades has come from the point and the position of teaching. I understand that it helps people make good decisions, good choices, so I want to help you by teaching you some of the things that I've learned along the way. I want to share my experience with you so that you can make good decisions for yourself and your family too. By the way, I maintain an active blog at thinstronghealthy.com, and you're welcome to go there. I've got great resources. I keep up-to-the-minute information there. I have recipes that I share, recipes that I've developed during my own healthy eating journey. So you're welcome to check that out. Now, if you're saying, I can't cook, I don't want to cook, believe me, I was the queen of I can't cook. In fact, there's a joke in my house that I used to burn the beans. Story from another time, but bottom line, if I can do it, you can do it. I changed my life by changing how I eat. You can do that too. Today, I want you to really understand how amazingly powerful you are. You have more control over your health than you think you do. You have the ability to change how you feel, how much you weigh, how much energy you have. In fact, eating well is a subversive activity in our world today. And taking back your health is the best revenge against those who have hijacked our health with the highly processed junk food that is such a big part of our American diet today. I want you to understand that it's not your fault. It's not your fault, let me repeat that, if you crave foods that you know you shouldn't have. Processed food has been designed to be addictive. It's been designed so that you crave it and you can't get enough. It's not your fault if you can't lose weight. It's not your fault if you're struggling with health issues like depression, like I was, like high blood sugar, if you're borderline diabetic. Knowledge is power. And once you understand how food can help you change yourself physically and mentally, you're going to realize you have the power to change your life and to do amazing things for yourself and your family. Your food choices affect you long term for good or for bad. Now, although what has been done and how it affects you is not your fault, when you have this information, it becomes your responsibility to take this information and to make good choices for yourself and for your family. Again, a little bit more about how I came here to talk to you today. When I was 28, I was diagnosed with hypoglycemia, extreme hypoglycemia, and that's low blood sugar. It was thought to be it was kind of the malady of the time, but it turned out I was a real one, and my blood sugar would go very, very low, and that meant that my pancreas was working too hard to secrete insulin. I would get really shaky, and I'd have to go for something to eat to raise my blood sugar because I felt like I was going to pass out. Well, I would go for a muffin, I would go for fruit juice. Wrong choices, because those would spike my blood sugar up and then drop me down. But the bottom line is I was hypoglycemic, and they also told me that if I weren't careful, my pancreas could get tired of producing so much insulin and could stop working, so I was at risk of becoming a diabetic. What else brings me here today to talk to you? I struggled with depression. Boy, did I struggle with depression. I remember becoming depressed when I was 12 years old. I started crying. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I was on and off antidepressants many times. And I don't know if you're aware, but in this country, women over the age of 40, over 20% of us are on some sort of antidepressant to control depression and or anxiety. those were things that I dealt with over the years. Now, let's fast forward to what really started this revolution and evolution for me. In 2012, my husband and I were out in California at my niece's wedding, and he had been having some really disturbing, really weird health things happening. He had trouble with muscle weakness, and his blood sugar levels were so high, he had to test his sugar twice a day. Now, this was really scary for us because both his brother and his mother had had diabetes. He was having issues with being borderline with glaucoma and cataracts, and he was having waves of depression. He was having really bad nightmares, disturbed sleep, and we were out there, and he had a really bad event. We had driven down to San Diego to do some sightseeing. We had walked around. It was hot. We said, let's go get a pizza and a beer. We sat down, we had a bite of pizza and a sip of beer, and he said, we gotta leave. We gotta leave. We used to call them spells. It was kind of a thing where everything would come up on him, and he would get so overwhelmed. Sip of water. He would get so overwhelmed with all the different things that he was dealing with that he would have to go lie down and go to sleep. So he said, we got to leave. So we left and drove back to the hotel, and he slept for about a day and a half. So this was a real wake-up call. I don't know if I mentioned the neuropathy. He was having that as well. Neuropathy is pain in your muscle tissue. It's not pain you can touch. You can't touch your skin. It's not in your stomach. It's in your muscle tissue. And that is very disturbing. So we started looking at what could this possibly be. We thought we were eating healthy at the time, and we looked at what was he taking for medication. The only thing he was on was Lipitor, which is a statin, which they prescribe to help you control your cholesterol. Now, in his family, along with diabetes, was also a history of heart disease. So they were trying to get ahead of the curve with him, and they had him on 80 milligrams of Lipitor a day for 7 years. When we went home, we got on the net and we looked at the mice type. If you look at your prescription drugs, you can read it causes this, that, and the other thing. What you really want to go for is the little teeny type, the rare things that happen. Those are the things that you want to make sure you're not being subjected to. And when we looked at that, it was check, 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 check. He had all of them. All of what was going on with him appeared to be negative effects, negative symptoms from taking Lipitor and from taking so much of it and for so long. So we decided, okay, we got to get you off the Lipitor. So back to what we were eating. We thought we were eating healthy at the time. Now, we were doing low fat and no fat, trying to contribute to controlling his cholesterol. We drank that Kool-Aid back in the no fat, low fat days. But as an aside, you have to understand that when the processed food industry takes fat out of your food, there's a lot of flavor in the fat in that food. So you end up with low-fat, no-fat food that doesn't taste very good. So what did they put in to try to replace the flavor that left with the fat when you took the fat out? They put in sugar, they put in salt. So less fat, but you've got more sugar, you've got more salt. Now, do the math on this. This is going to increase blood pressure with the salt, and it's also the sugar is going to contribute to our obesity epidemic, and we'll talk more about that later. But back to what we were eating. We were eating soy substitutes for bacon and sausages. Again, trying not to eat meat, trying not to eat things that were high in cholesterol, but still trying to get some protein. But those soy products were very, very, very processed. They had preservatives. There wasn't whole food in it. It was a processed soy product. We also had been eating fish and poultry. I actually was never a fan of meat. It was just my thing. I just didn't like the way it tasted. Rob stopped eating meat when we realized that he had a problem with cholesterol. But if you're a meat eater, be assured you can still eat meat. There are meats that you can eat, but you have to. We'll talk more about this down the road, but there are ways to choose wisely so that you're eating meat that serves you rather than harms you. For sugar, we were using stevia, we were using maple syrup, we were using honey for sweeteners. We were trying to eat whole grains. So we thought we were doing a good job. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about how we crave foods and what foods we crave. And it's about breaking the cycle of addiction. And I want to ask you, what foods can you not imagine being able to live without? Can you imagine not having potato chips, not having cookies, not having pizza or pastry? Or can you imagine not having carrots, kale, grapes, sweet potatoes? I think we all know what that answer is. And let's admit it, we think about food all the time. I think about food all the time. I think about different food now. But honestly, if you have a bad day, what are you going to reach for? Are you going to go home and say, I can't wait to steam some sweet potatoes? Or are you going to go home and have a cookie? Are you going to have, French fries and a Coke? Are you going to treat yourself to a Snickers bar? Junk food is addictive by design. Processed food is designed in labs to make us crave it. This is done intentionally so that we're continually hungry for it. So it's not your fault that you crave the stuff that isn't good for you. It's not your fault. They've designed it so that you want it. They've got you right where they've got you right where they want you, and they don't want to lose you because you're on that eating addictive food, processed food treadmill. This food that they have designed in the labs is engineered to trigger the pleasure centers in your brain. So if you think you feel better when you eat a cookie, it's because you do. But you feel better for a short amount of time, not for a long period of time. It's short. And then it goes down, and then you crave the cookie again, and you eat another cookie, and it goes down. And you go with this cycle again. Now, foods I used to crave, I don't crave anymore. When I was putting this presentation together, I was thinking, what did I used to crave? Well, I can honestly tell you that I used to kind of joke. If you put me in front of a firing squad and you said, what do you want for your last meal? I would say a good, strong cup of black coffee and a really good donut, because I love those things. So my changes have been choice. It's not that I don't love the things that you love to eat. It's that I love feeling better more. So let's talk about breaking the cycle of addiction, because you don't stand a chance unless you take a stand for yourself. You're bombarded with ads for junk food and processed food all the time. If you continue to eat processed food and junk food, what can you expect? Well, you can expect weight gain. We're in the middle of a terrifying obesity epidemic. You can expect rising blood sugar levels, borderline diabetic. You can expect joint pain. Did you know that for every pound of extra weight you carry, it puts 3 times that much weight and pressure on your hips, your knees, your feet, your joints? So if you say, I need to lose 10 pounds, do the math on that. You are putting 30 extra pounds of pressure on your hips, your knees, and your feet. So if you're carrying around a lot of extra weight and you find you're shuffling and you're leaning on the grocery cart when you go through the aisles, it's because it's that 3 times factor. So keep that in mind. You can also expect bad skin, poor skin tone or color, lack of energy and mental focus. All of these things are gifts, not so much, but we'll call them gifts for now, that the processed food industry has bestowed on us with their processed lab-engineered food. Let's talk about fat. Let's talk about belly fat. We hear a lot of talk about belly fat these days, and belly fat versus visceral fat. There's belly fat, and that's the fat that is on the outside. That's when your stomach sticks out, that's your belly fat. Visceral fat is the fat that's on the inside. Now, I think a lot of us assume that you've got a stomach, and we kind of assume that once it hits the inside, it's flat. And you don't think it's not flat. It's a sphere. So that's pushing inside. It's surrounding your organs and putting pressure on your organs. So keep that in mind. That's a good visual to have. You need to understand where you are. If you're going to make changes, and I'm on such a mission to help you make changes. Believe me, I'm on a mission to share what's happened to me, that it may happen to you. In order to make changes, you have to realize and acknowledge where you're starting. You have to have a starting point. And then you set goals and you change your life. So this is where we're starting. Okay, also, poor eating choices can also cause inflammation. in your body. And inflammation can cause, slight annoyances, or it can cause really terrible damage. And now inflammation is believed to be the root cause of most diseases and of premature aging. Also, production of cortisol, called the stress hormone. Cortisol regulates many of the changes that occur in the body in response to stress, including blood sugar levels, fat, protein, and carbohydrate metabolism to maintain blood glucose, and immune responses, belly and visceral fat. It affects all of those, cortisol does. So Rob and I, what we did, we cleaned up our act. We purged our pantry, we cleaned out our refrigerator, we cleaned out our freezer, but I'll tell you, it's an ongoing learning process. We thought we took the hard line. We thought we slammed the door shut and we changed everything. And we did a lot in the beginning. But the more we learned, the more we read, the better we felt. And the more we learned and the more we read, because we felt so much better and we started to see these fabulous changes, the more we realized that it's a process, it's an ongoing process. So you don't just change and that's it. But what happened to us was amazing. In fact, for me personally, it was nothing short of a miracle. For me, I changed what I was eating because I do the majority of the cooking, but I did it to support Rob because we were trying to get him off the statins so that we could get his cholesterol and his blood glucose and all of that. Well, I was in the middle of a personal experience that was very hard for me. I was in the middle of selling my family home. My parents had lived there for 50 plus years. I grew up there. They had both passed away and I had to sell. I had to pack it up and I had to sell my family home. And it was something I didn't want to do, something that had to be done. And it was about 6 months after we started this healthy eating journey. And Rob and I kept waiting for me to be a depressed mess. And I wasn't. And it was the strangest thing because all of a sudden we realized I wasn't depressed about this. I was sad. I would get teary, but I was appropriately sad. Depression isn't about not being sad. Depression is it's ongoing. It's always with you. Life makes you sad sometimes. And I was sad at this time, but it was appropriately sad. I wasn't depressed. And that for me was a miracle. And it colored all aspects of my life. It gave me more patience. It gave me more clarity. I started to sleep better. I lost 20 pounds. I lost 20 pounds and I wasn't even trying to diet. It just fell off me. And this is what I want to share with you too. You don't have to diet. You don't have to diet. We'll go into that a little bit down the road. But I want to tell you what happened with Rob too, because it was so exciting. So he started to feel better. His cognitive stuff, he had some short-term memory stuff that was going on too. So his memory started getting better. His brain started getting clearer. He started to want to do his projects. He does woodworking. He's an artist. So he went back to that stuff. And we had been doing this for a while, and he went back for a battery of tests. His cholesterol is completely normal. His HDL is good. It's up. His LDL, the bad, is down. He's off his statins. He does not have to test his sugar. His sugar levels are great. His inflammation marker, which is CRP, it stands for C-reactive protein, that's perfect. So this for us has been an unbelievable miracle. So what I want to tell you is, and please, if you get nothing from this, get this. Don't diet. Don't diet. Dieting is a bazillion-dollar business in this country. So many people are making money from you trying to lose weight and buying their diet programs and paying to go weigh in and paying to have food delivered to your door. Take that money and just buy good, whole, healthy food. And that's what this program is going to help you do. That's what we're going to share with you. This is not a diet. What I'm talking about is not a diet. It is a lifestyle. And that's the best thing. You don't have to diet. You don't have to diet to feel better, to look better, to lose weight. The word diet screams deprivation and misery. I want you to be happy. I don't want you to be deprived. I don't want you to feel miserable. And I know there are many of you out there who have experienced the yo-yo diet phenomenon. Yo-yo dieting, you lose weight, you put it back on. You lose weight, you put it back on. So many people have gone through this. And the fact is, when you lose and gain weight, it actually becomes harder for your body to let go of the weight. There's a message that your brain gets when you lose and gain and lose and gain. Your body starts to think that it's starving, and it hangs on to those pounds that you are so desperately trying to lose. So the yo-yo diet makes it harder for you to lose weight. Now, there are different schools of thought on how do you go about doing this. Well, one of them is cold turkey. You slam the door and you just get rid of all the stuff that you're eating and you start eating in a different way. Now, as I mentioned before, there's a lot that you learn along the way. So slamming the door, it's a way to start. There's a lot to learn, though. So making a big, sever off your ties with processed food, that's one way to go. There are gradual steps you can take toward a new way of eating. That's another way to do it. But never go on a diet. Please never go on a diet, not a crash diet, not a diet of any kind. And how do you truly begin to change how you eat? Where in the world do you start? Well, you purge your pantry, you purge your refrigerator and your freezer. You get rid of all processed foods. You get rid of anything in a box. Anything in a box, you get it out of there. You get rid of anything with more than 5 ingredients, anything with ingredients you can't pronounce, you don't understand, you don't know what they are. Get rid of it. Get it out of there. What can I eat? I'm sure you're thinking that. What in the world am I going to eat? Am I just going to eat lettuce? I'm going to turn into a rabbit? No, not at all. But let's talk about portion control, because that's a big part of this. Our American all-you-can-eat Wednesday night restaurant phenomenon kind of thing, that encourages us to overeat. There is a group of people, the Okinawans, and they eat until they're 87%, I think is the percentage, 87% full, and then they stop. So be mindful. And a lot of this is about being mindful, eating mindfully and being aware of what you're eating and how you feel while you're eating that. So be aware of stopping eating before you're full, and certainly don't eat until you're stuffed. Don't eat until you're stuffed. So my advice to people is, and I did this, I went out and I bought a smaller plate for my breakfast, because what I found was I was trying to do some portion control, and I had a big plate and I was putting my smaller portions on my big plate. Visually, it looked like I was depriving myself. So I went out and I bought same color plate, but it's a smaller plate, and I look like I've got a nice full plate. So part of this, in changing how you're doing this, part of it is playing games with yourself, almost, while you're going through this transition, to help motivate yourself, to help you feel better about what you're doing. So get a smaller plate. And then another thing is, Dr. Jill Furman, one of my favorite gurus on this topic, says the salad is the main dish. You should have a salad, certainly with every dinner. Certainly with every dinner. And you can have a wonderful salad. It doesn't mean you have to just eat greens. You can have greens and cucumbers and different kinds of greens too. Cucumbers, you can have some fruit, you can have roasted nuts, you can have olives, you can have roasted peppers, you can cut up sugar snap peas. You can make it a really, really interesting beets. Cut up beets and put on there. You can make it a real meal. Have a piece of fish, have a little piece of steak, have a piece of chicken, whatever you want for your protein. You'll be amazed. And if you eat your salad first, it fills you up, but it's not going to carbo load you like eating a baked potato or big plate of rice with butter or sour cream or something like that. So the salad is the main dish. Now, there are delicious ways to make most of your healthy foods. Now, I'm not talking about the egg muffin or the Hot Pockets here, but there are delicious ways, and you'll get creative too. You'll get creative with how you're, with the food that you're eating. Now, there's a sign in my doctor's office that I wanted to share with you. I always love this, and it says 3 things. Never eat anything with more than 5 ingredients. Never eat anything that your grandmother wouldn't recognize as food. And never eat anything that won't eventually rot. Words to live by, words to eat by. So a good place to start is be aware of the food that you buy. And if you go to Environmental Working Group or ewg.org, and I also have this, or I'll post it for you on the resource page of thinstronghealthy.com, my blog. It's a list of the clean 13 and the dirty dozen. When we started on this adventure, Rob and I were in a grocery store in Nashua, and we were trying to figure out what should we be buying, and this nice lady said, she heard us trying to struggle with what should we be choosing, and she said, well, do you know about the clean 15 and the dirty dozen? We said, no. And so she pulled it out of her pocketbook. I whipped out my phone, took a picture, and we've had it with us ever since. And it's a list of the clean 15. Those are the 15 cleanest vegetables that you don't have to worry so much about buying organic. You know, you can buy conventional. Because part of this whole thing is people worry about how much this is going to cost, because organic is more expensive, but there are ways to manage it. Trust me, because I do it. And then the dirty dozen, that gives you things like apples and strawberries, which are heavily sprayed with pesticides. You want to buy organic on those. So I'll make sure that that's in my resource section for you. Learn how to shop. This is important. Listen to me now. This is really important. Stick to the perimeter of the grocery store. Stick to the outside of your grocery store. The fresh, whole foods and the less processed foods are there. The inner aisles have the chips, soda, cookies, cake mixes, etc. that you want to avoid. Now, you'll shop with new eyes the next time you go to the grocery store. You'll be able to make good choices, and you'll be able to make conscious, informed choices. Now you're armed with the information the processed food industry doesn't want you to have. You now have the awareness to choose differently so you don't have to diet. Let me say that again. You can choose to eat well so you don't have to diet. Don't diet. I don't want you dieting anymore. You can eat to be well rather than to be sick. Don't buy junk food. Don't have it in the house. If it's there, you're going to eat it. You'll come home. You'll have a bad day. You'll say, I'll just have one cookie. Half a bag later, you'll be kicking yourself. Remember, they've designed it so that you can't have just one. Instead, buy fresh whole foods. There are great ways to fix them, to have snacks, to plan ahead, to make big meals so you don't have to cook a McGill meal every night. We'll get into all of that. I got plans for you. You won't always feel hungry if you eat this way either. Your hunger hormones will normalize. Sometimes I have a hard time saying hunger hormones. They'll normalize, and they'll work the way they should, so that they'll tell your brain when it's time to stop eating. The way the food is designed, it's designed to mess with your two hunger hormones, and they don't do their job. They get turned off. So you will stop craving food you know you shouldn't eat once you get on this road. It's amazing. So I want to be sure that you check out thinstronghealthy.com. There you'll find recipes. You'll find information. My resource has a bunch of books that everything that I have there, I have vetted. I've bought it, I've read it, I've used it, I've cooked with it before I put it up there for you. So, you know, it's up to the minute information to support you in your quest for better health. And I'm really committed to helping you on this adventure. If you have questions, I really, really hope you'll email me. My email address is cheryl@thinstronghealthy.com. And I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me. I look forward to seeing you again. And we'll talk some more about things that will help you be and feel better. Thanks so much. I'm Cheryl Major.